All right. Okay, Jason, kicking it off.
All right, thank you
Thanks.
all. Thank you all again for joining us for, yes, our eighth panel. This is kind of an incredible thing that we're at 8 of these, but um, we'll move right in with our agenda. We are going to do our usual welcomes, introductions, as well as touch on some of the normal coverage of what VATI is and what role DHCD plays in that, as well as our role. We're going to touch on Advanced Mills and Milton Hills. Those are the next two areas to launch. We're also going to spend a little bit of time because we expect to have some newer attendees, people that haven't attended or haven't attended in a while, because we've got some big project areas that are coming up very, very soon. So we're going to review the ordering process. That's the Q.com process. We're going to briefly discuss, this has been long awaited, splitting up some of the project areas, and then we're going to go into our usual Q&A. As always, the Q&A portion is the most important part of these webinars. It keeps us accountable, and it helps us to flesh out questions and ideas and things that people might that people need answered. And so we want to make sure that everybody has all of the information that we have as soon as we've got it. And so this is the right forum. So at the bottom of the screen, most likely there's a Q&A function. It's open now. You can go ahead and start dropping questions in there, and when we reach the Q&A stage, we'll be using that to manage our questions and answers. I will say, we don't have a chat active right now. That's because we want all these questions to come in through the Q&A section. Today on the line, we've got the director of the Broadband Accessibility and Affordability Office, Michael Culp. Myself, I'm the program manager at BOW, as we like to call ourselves. And my apologies, Steve Brewer is not going to be on, but we do have Heather Lee, Dolores Carroll, and Nancy Devaney from Lumen, who will be doing their portion and answering any questions that you all might have. VATI and DHCD. So the Virginia Telecommunications Initiative is sort of the mechanism by which these projects get launched, and then we administer these projects. These are public-private partnerships between DHCD, us, and a private service provider, usually a private service provider. In this particular case, and actually I neglected to say, our authority, the Albemarle Broadband Authority, is actually the body that is in relationship with DHCD and, in this case, Lumen, for this project. And our office, we administer these projects. So this project is a $2.3 million state, has $2.3 million of state funding that brings Lumen and DHCD and the Broadband Authority and us all together, and you all, to bring fiber broadband service to over 1,600 parcels, like 1,600 passings is what we call it. Those are all divided up into 10 project areas. We've launched, is it 5, Mike, or 6?
5 now.
5, yeah. Yep. With the other 5 on the way. This has been a progressive, you guys are going to see the project areas in a little bit. It has been a progressive project. We've started with smaller project areas and worked our way, and we're going to be moving into those larger project areas very soon. And so that is one of the reasons why we've been hosting these webinars, is to make sure that everybody has a chance to hear updates about the programs, get any questions that they have answered. And so we appreciate you all attending. Advanced Mills and Milton Hills, I'm going to ask Lumen to talk on this in just a second. We're going to start with Advanced Mills. All construction work has been completed. So all of the work at the street level has been completed. There are still obviously work that needs to be done in the residences and on the resident properties, and we'll go into more detail about that in a minute. However, residents can place their orders at Q.com, and if you haven't done it, if you're concerned, if you've got questions, stay tuned. We're going to talk about that in a minute, and installations will begin soon. The other area that's about to launch, that's Milton Hills. Construction work will be completed shortly. They've been awaiting some permits. We'll hopefully get an update on where we are on those. And residents in this area will be able to place orders soon. The plan, as our last conversation, was still for a July launch. So we're in July. It'll be sometime this month is the expectation. The other thing that we wanted to touch on before we invite Lumen to comment is incomplete orders. Like we've said, we've had 5 project areas. It's around 200, 250, I believe, passing so far. So that's 250 people that have had the opportunity to order. Many of you all have, and some of you haven't gotten your service yet. So this is why we wanted to address it, that some of these some residents haven't, they've experienced delays. They haven't gotten the service that they've ordered yet. We've spoken with Lumen about this a few times, and some of these delays are the result of a computer software issue that had some orders tangled up for a period of time. And this in particular impacted the Gilbert Station residents, but it also impacted a few residents in other project areas. There are crews working to get this across the line. And the way to think about it is we've talked about how in the past, and we'll review it now, there are 3 phases. Once you've ordered your service, there's somebody's going to come out and determine what needs to happen on your property in order to bring service to your property. Somebody needs to bring the service to your property, and then somebody actually needs to connect things inside. Sometimes those things get out of step. Somebody might have come and already put some equipment in your house, and now they need to wait for somebody to free up to come to your property and dig a trench and bury a piece of fiber to actually connect to. So with that, I'm going to invite, I don't know if it's Nancy or Dolores or Heather that would like to take this, but we'd love to hear updates on Advanced Mills, Milton Hills, and then also just a comment on the incomplete orders issue.
Not sure if Heather can get off of mute, so we may have to answer her.
Okay.
Heather, are you?
Mike, if you want to just
Okay.
quickly Google which code.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
it looks
think
like she
she's
came
good.
off mute.
Yep, she did.
Oh, there she is.
Yeah.
Okay, so sorry, technical difficulties here. So as you know, we've launched Advanced Meal, and we have begun taking orders, and we're seeing great progress there. So we're really excited about that. Milton Hills, as you said, is next up. I believe that's a little over 200 living units that we're looking at there. It is some rocky terrain, I think, that's being faced, but we are moving towards that July launch date in Milton Hills. For Box Holly, as we discussed the last time we met, we have broken that down into 3 separate tranches so that we could run those and turn those up separately. So you'll see on the screen, first up is going to be Taylor's Gap, which we're shooting for the August 19th launch. We've got Rosemont following up September 9th, and then Murray will be September 30th. So that is our target. That is what we're working towards, and we'll continue to communicate that weekly with the Albemarle County Board as we progress.
So just to back up, so that last part, that's the first announcement of one of our larger project areas, and we've got that on the screen now so that you guys have all seen this map and this list before, but the big changes right there are where before we just had September 30th, Taylor's Gap, Box Holly. We've now broken those up, Lumen has broken those up to three chunks, Taylor's Gap, Rosemont, and Murray. And you can see the dates there for when those are gonna go on the launch. I'll go ahead and ask Heather, when do we think we'll have that kind of work, the splitting them up for Stony Point and Campbell Cobham?
Well, we have our planning and engineering team working to split those up as we speak. So in short order, I hope to have that to you. Okay,
wonderful. So hopefully, hopefully before too long, certainly,
Yes,
before we get to those launch dates. And then I think I'm gonna cut off one question before it comes to us. I'm sure somebody's typing furiously right now, but how do you know which of those tranches you're in?
Good question, and this is something that we discussed, Jason, and I have our team working to prepare a more thorough map so you can see that kind of where you're at within those tranches, and we'll provide that to you.
Awesome. And I will go ahead and say, as we get those, we will actually go ahead and take, all of you got an email from me to get to this point. And so we will go ahead and take your email addresses and your information that you provided to us in terms of an address. And we'll do the work of actually checking each of those addresses, figuring out which tranche it's going to be in, and we will go ahead and send you an update. It's just a quick notification informing you about which tranche you're in. If you have any questions about that, obviously feel free to reach out. And once we get the maps from Lumen, we'll go ahead and put them on the website. So that way everybody can see, and we'll continue that as we look at Stony Point and Campbell Cobham. That's the Keswick area for those that are that aren't familiar, the Keswick area. Once those are split up, we will go ahead and do the same thing for those. But for each of your project areas, we've already got you in a separate bucket of email addresses. That way we can filter down and we can send you guys updates specific to your area. We plan to do that once we get these tranches. That way we can keep everybody informed. And then backing up, Heather, if you don't mind, and I know you can't see my slides, but we did want to hear an update from Lumen about these incomplete orders. And if anybody's on the call that maybe he's placed orders in Tillman or Snow Hill or one of the other project areas that's already launched, if you wanted to give them an update on the delays that we've seen and what Lumen's trying to do to catch up.
Yeah, so first of all, I will back up and say I really appreciate the partnership between you, Jason, and Michael. And, we've been working feverishly to solve all of the concerns and the issues that have been emailed to you. And I definitely appreciate that partnership there. So we are working each of those emails, those escalations, as you've sent them. And I think that we initially faced a small hiccup whenever we launched this new platform, but I think we found a solution for those, and we are working to complete all of the orders that have been placed. So I think we're on the right step, and we're moving forward here for the installation.
Awesome. And as just a reminder, if any of you on the line have had any delays, any concerns, anytime, not just on these webinars, anytime you can reach out to us. In fact, if you have a very specific question to your order or your address, we'd actually prefer you just email us, and let's leave most of the Q&A time here to be more general. In particular, we don't want people to put, these are recorded, so we would prefer it if you didn't put your street address or anything like that in the Q&A or in the chat. But if you have any issues, email us, and we will reach out with your particular issues once we've verified some things to the team at Lumen. And like Heather just said, they've been working as we escalate individual cases to review where the hiccups have been, to remedy those, and then to work through the backlog as it exists. So anybody that wants to reach out needs a little bit of extra help, BAAO@albemarle.org. And I think with that, we will go ahead and send it over to Lumen for their portion of the presentation. Is it going to be Nancy for the first part?
Yes, it will be. So Nancy is over our marketing department, and she will walk you through the customer order process. So Nancy.
Sorry, I have to get off mute. Okay, well, thank you. So the information here on this slide just kind of talks about CenturyLink is transforming to quantum fiber for this particular project. So let me get started with, I think on the next screen, can you go to the next? Okay, that just kind of shows the work schedule where we've already turned some up and where we're going to. This again is one of the maps that we provided. We will, again, as Heather said, be updating this map with a little bit more specific information and continually updating those dates and making sure everything is accurate. On the next slide, you can move forward. There we go. So I'll walk you through the ordering process for fiber internet. First, I want to talk to you about the benefits of fiber internet. So fiber optic internet uses light pulsing through special glass cables to move information at nearly the speed of light. It's an ultra fast broadband connection with enough speed to handle all your devices simultaneously or power your small business software with minimal slowdowns. Most households today have lots of connected devices. Your mobile phones, tablets, gaming devices, TVs, even your refrigerators can be connected to the internet. So quantum fiber internet allows you to connect all those devices. You can play games, stream shows, chat online, all with no data caps, contracts, or bundles. Fiber provides a reliable, scalable internet connection. If you have service in the VATI grant area today, then you are under the CenturyLink brand. Quantum Fiber is our latest. It's a new fiber product using next generation systems for fiber ordering and inventory systems, along with a new digital platform under the Lumen umbrella of products. Quantum Fiber offers a fully digital online experience. You're going to place your order online, and you do not need to call an 800 number. You go to q.com. So we are installing fiber optic cables to the homes now in the Grand area. We completed the construction, some of the construction, and then we are rolling out the fiber internet in a phased approach. As we said earlier, not all households will turn up at the same time. So you'll be notified when your home is ready to order fiber internet. Again, at that time, you'll go to q.com to place the order. If your home isn't quite ready for fiber internet, you can enter your name to be notified, q.com. I'll show you that in a few more slides. So Quantum Fiber is a prepay platform. You need an email address and a credit card to place your order. Also, because this is a fiber-based internet to your home, you will need a fiber drop. That's the cable that brings the fiber into your home. So initially, you're going to see a 10 business day due date. That's to give us time to do that site visit to your address. We have to take measurements for the drop and allow time for our third-party contractor to bury the drop. Fiber internet requires a technician to come to your house also. So someone 18 years of age or older needs to be home at the time of the installation. Okay, so go on to the next slide, slide 6. Okay, so if you're a new customer and you don't have service today with CenturyLink, I'll show you first the steps that you'll go through. So you'll go to q.com again, and you'll enter look for the check availability slide or spot there. And if you go to the next slide, when you get to the next slide, it'll say, let's get started. You enter your address, and then you'll again select the box that says check availability. And the next slide. This is where you'll see the speeds that are available. So we actually offer two speeds, 940 meg and 200 meg. This particular one is highlighting the 940 meg, $65 a month. So you highlight that particular box and then you hit continue. And on the next slide, it'll show the modem selection. So you do have the option to bring your own modem, or we do have a modem that we will offer. At this time, there's no charge for that modem. So you highlight that box and then you select continue. And then you'll get this little graphic showing we're checking your address, making sure that we have everything ready for you. And then on the next slide, this is the slide that will actually give you your installation date. So it'll come back with the next available date. You can change that to a date farther. You won't be able to bring it in sooner. You can also click on that down arrow where it has the time frame. If that 2-hour period doesn't work, then you can select a different one. Right here, you'll fill out your email address and your phone number. Also, you'll want to check the boxes, review the Quantum Fiber Internet subscriber agreement, and then there's other information if you want to read the privacy notice. But after you filled in that information, you'll click continue again, and we'll go to the next slide. At this time, you can review your order. Again, you can see the address that has been validated, the technician date and time to arrive, your monthly rate, and then what's due today and what your monthly amount is. And then there's, under those boxes, there's a lot of other information. You can click on those little box or those little circles where it says rate changes, billing information, construction charges, the fiber statement. All that information is there for you to review. And then after you've done that and you're ready to move forward, you can click on the continue button. We'll go to the next slide. This is where you can still see your order summary there on the left side of the screen, but otherwise you will put in how your name is going to appear on your account. Your business, you can put that information and then you select continue. And the next page is actually will actually give you an opportunity to put in your credit card information and your payment information. So I don't have a picture for that one. But after you've done that on this slide, you can see that we've confirmed. This is your internet order confirmation page. It's again confirming your installation time and date. On the next slide, you will get a confirmation email. This is just an example of what that email should look like, confirming that we have your order. So if you're an existing customer, on the next slide, this is the existing customer slide. The information here is a little bit different. So if you're with CenturyLink today, you can still enter your address in here, but if you'll notice underneath that box where I've highlighted it, are you currently a CenturyLink customer? If you're currently have service with us today, whether it's just voice or DSL, you're going to want to go ahead and click that. And then when you do that, you'll click on the click to chat. So you'll identify yourself as the existing customer, click on the click to chat. That agent is going to send you further instructions. So your process will be a little bit different. You'll get an email specifically for you. We'll take you through the process. Okay, I had said earlier on the next slide, excuse me, I had said earlier that if we weren't ready for fiber internet at your house yet, when you put through your information, the very first screen where you put in your address, if we're not quite ready to provide fiber internet yet, you're going to get this screen that says we're not available at your address yet. So you can you can get your information in the future by clicking on that on the left side where it says notify me. So that address is where you're looking to add the fiber internet. So that's the address we need in there. And then you click notify me. You'll get a screen on the next slide where again, you'll enter your contact information, your name, your email address, a phone number, which is optional. And then select the stay up to date. And by doing that, you will get contacted in the future when that address is ready. So slide 19 just shows that's the screen that you're going to get. It says you're on the list. You'll receive communication from when Quantum Fiber Internet is available. Okay, so let's go on to the next slide. If you have or want to have Connected Voice is a prepaid voice over internet protocol or referred to as VoIP. Essentially, that means it's a digital phone service provided through your internet connection. Connected Voice offers all the features of a traditional telephone like caller ID, call waiting, voicemail, plus more advanced features not available with the most traditional telephone services, which is voice to email or email notifications. The thing to remember about Connected Voice is it can only be added after your fiber internet installation is complete. So when you, on the next slide, when you have established your internet account, you will have we call My Account. And after you get that and you're an existing customer in Quantum Fiber, then you could go back into the Shop tab. And this is where you can select the voice product that you want. Ordering is really easy. After you signed in your Quantum Fiber account and you clicked on the Shop tab, you'll be able to select that connected voice product that's right for you. The basic service is the most popular with residential customers, while the professional service is usually chosen by small businesses. On the next slide, this is just showing some additional support pages. There are frequently asked questions on Q.com. You can go to any one of these tabs along the top bar in the purple, and you'll find a lot of information about quantum fiber out here. There's also support pages on the next slide that will talk even specifically about the equipment and the modem. And slide 24 also shows some different types of modems that are available. Again, information is available at any time when you're on our Q.com. Look for the click to chat in the corner, and you can always chat with one of our agents at any time if you have questions. Okay, I'm going to refer it back to Heather, or I guess we'll go on to the frequently asked questions.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nancy. That was great. Again, a very thorough review, and we've already got questions coming in, and we've covered some of those answers. So we will circle back to those in a minute, but wanted to remind you guys, one of the things that we try to do is each presentation, each webinar, we take some of the input, some of the most asked and relevant questions, and we'll update them into our FAQ. You can find the presentation slides, which include an FAQ section on our VATI 2021 page, which we will link out after this meeting. And you can also find a frequently asked questions section on that page. We try to keep them up to date. If we've fallen behind on something, if something doesn't look right, reach out to us and we will try to get you an answer and also get things updated. And we're actually going to move to our first question that is really relevant, especially for today. And I'm not going to go to the map with those dates, but the question comes from Mr. Ludwig here, and it's sorry, are the dates when service can actually go live at the customer's premises, or the date that Lumen's local infrastructure will be built out? So traditionally, what we have been talking about is that date is going to be the date where you should by then be able to order service. Now, some of you, especially in Advanced Mills, Gilbert Station, certainly, you may have noticed that you were able to start ordering your service well before that date. And that, a lot of times that has to do with timing of work that's going to be completed, as well as engineering work that's happening on the web portal. So as of now, you can, for project areas that haven't launched yet, which should be a lot of you all that are on the call now, go to Q.com. If you can place your order, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get service right away. But if you can't, if it tells you that you're not ready, that is the opportunity to fill this section out right here, to click on that notify me tag. I saw a question. I'm going to go ahead and Mr. Shields, I believe you asked a similar question. Who notifies the homeowner? How are they notified? For those areas that have launched that you can start ordering service, this is how you're going to get notified of that, is using this tool on Q.com. I know for some of you that have been on all of these calls, you were here one of those first times where we tried to steer people away from working on this part right away, and it didn't work at the time, but kinks have been worked out. People are getting their notifications and they're able to order their service and are assisted by this notify me section. The other thing that I will highlight is we again have all of the email addresses that we've saved especially from people that have filled out the interest form. And we have used those in the past to send updates on when you're going to launch to specific project areas. We've slipped a little bit in that, and it's for a very specific reason, in that when we have a project area that is kind of soft launch, we want to make sure everything is humming. So Advanced Mills, you can expect an email from us. All of your neighbors can expect an email from us later today as we announce, because we've spoken to Heather and the team at Lumen to make sure that project area is ready to go. And so today, you all will get an email from us saying, yep, you guys are all set. get started. Milton Hills, you guys can expect one later in the month, as late as August 1st, because we're going to make sure that your area is ready to start placing orders before we send out that email. So if there seems like there's a delay sometimes, a lot of it is just we want to be cautious and we don't want to let people know something that then turns out not to be the case. So with that, I'm going to clear those two questions, move on to another question about the ordering of service. And I'm gonna frame it, and then I'm gonna let Heather or Nancy sort of discuss it a little bit more in depth, because it is related to some of the challenges that some of the project areas have had. So if you look at the math here, you've got up to 10 business days for a buried site check. You've got an additional up to 10 business days for a third-party company to come out and actually bury that fiber. And then, working with you, you've got a time frame for when you're going to be available to be present for a technician to come to the house and do the install inside the house. And as we mentioned, there have been times when it's been a little disordered, where the fiber drop isn't ready, but the install tech already comes, and maybe the install tech installs some equipment, but it's not connected to the fiber, and they're working through it. And so I bring that up because, as you see, it could be 20 plus days from when you place your order, but that number is going to vary, and it's going to vary for a lot of different factors. And so with that, I wanted to just see if, Heather, if you don't mind just sharing some of your thoughts and sort of Lumen's goals when it comes to issuing, because all of these customers often get, as Nancy showed on one of those slides, a date. They're told a specific date. Do you mind sharing what that date really represents, but then also sharing what the factors are that can sometimes turn these 20 days into something a bit longer?
Well, I will let Nancy go more in depth there, and I will say that was a system glitch once we moved to the new platform that has been fixed since Gilbert Station. So hopefully we will not see those delays and that we did at that time. Nancy, okay. You may want to go into further detail there as to the time frames that we have listed.
Yeah, we do try to get the, once we get the due date or the order in the system, we will try and get a technician out there to do that site visit. We do allow up to 10 days, just based on volumes, but typically that will happen within the 10 days. And then we'll, at that time, probably you'll get another call from us unless the technician happens to talk to you, because they'll actually schedule a date. So the site visit is really to take the measurements. We have to know what length of a fiber drop we're going to need for your project. So the site visit is initially to allow us to take those measurements. Then we will pass that information to our third-party contractor that actually buries the drop. The technician will bring the drop, actually will connect the drop then and bring it into your house on your due date. We have to allow up to 2 weeks or 10 days, 10 business days, because it could take up to that long. We'll try to do it faster wherever we can or whenever we can.
Awesome, appreciate that. And again, as we mentioned earlier, if you're coming up on your due date, if your due date has come and gone and you haven't heard from Lumen, we're hopeful that doesn't happen, but if it does, anytime, email us baao@albemarle.org. I'm going to move to one that's actually, it's been on our plate to get it out there. Mr. Henley asks, will business class services be available? Can we get a static IP address or multiple IPs? Again, for some of you that have been on the calls for a while, we had a technical focus group, and some of you that are on right now were there for that focus group. And what the goal was to put together a list of questions that were more technical in nature, more related to specific equipment and specific services and specific capabilities. And when we did that, one of the things that we wanted to do is get all those questions together and then hold Lumen's feet to the fire on getting us answers. Some of those answers have come in. We need to sit down with Lumen, our office. We just want to sit down with Lumen, share our thoughts on some of those answers, and make sure we've got all the clarity that we need. And then we're going to distribute the results, so the questions and the answers, to everybody on this list, everybody on this call, so that they have a chance to get these questions answered. And we're also going to add those questions and those answers to our FAQ. So will business class services be available? We got a confirmation that yes, business class services will be available. However, you will be paying business class rates. And Nancy, I don't know if you don't have any slides prepared for the business class stuff, but do you want to share some of the approaches and how they can reach out to somebody to get business class services like a static IP address?
You know, I'm not familiar with the business side, but I can find
Okay.
out. So I'll get
Absolutely.
that information and get back.
Perfect. And so what you guys can expect, Mr. Henley, and others that were interested in those services, we will have some more information on business class services, but we did get confirmation about static IP addresses. I didn't ask about multiple IP. I don't think we were that specific, but static IPs are definitely something that they want that they're going to be offering, as well as other business class offerings. So we will touch base on those with you all soon. And another one that has, it's been a frequent question, and it's one that we want to clarify as much as possible. I'm going to leave it on this slide. I'm not going to move down to our FAQ because this one gives you that high level view. But the question comes from Milton Hills. A little confused about the misutility requirement. I put in a misutility request. The guy came out and said there was nothing for him to detail. It was all CenturyLink's responsibility to mark lines. What about Dominion's lines? After that, what about well, septic, and any gas lines for whole house generators? Is that third party? Residents have been trying to get third party people out and nobody's returning calls. So this is something that we're working to remedy, and hearing that there are no third parties that are available to come out. It's a little discouraging. It is something that we were hoping wouldn't be the case, but we will do our best to reach out to all of the utility marking providers and try to get a list. If you have a specific, we have a specific recommendation, somebody that had their utilities marked by a third party, a contractor, had a good experience. We can provide those that contact information, and if anybody is interested in that particular service, reach out to us. We're hoping to flesh it out from one recommended contractor to several, because obviously this is something that is going to be pressing as we move into those larger project areas, a lot of which have private utilities that need to be taken care of, especially wells in the rural area. So to sort of clarify, the markings for your general municipal utilities, that's your power, if you've got natural gas, your natural gas, and if you've got CenturyLink lines already on the property, those lines, those are all, it's CenturyLink's responsibility to call 811, get those scheduled, and get them marked. That's a good trigger for you, though. If you start to see that they have marked those public utilities on your property, then hopefully you've got a private contractor in mind. And if you want to get your private utilities marked, private utilities being your electric fences, your your invisible fence, well lines, gas lines from a propane tank, if you've got a security system, an electric fence, all those things that fall into private utilities, then you have choices. One choice is if you know where your utilities are, or even maybe it's not exactly a utility, but it's a little creek that runs through your property, or a flower bed that, with deep roots that you don't want anybody to disturb, do your best to market. And if it's something really unique, reach out to us. We can work with Lumen to make sure that a tech can visit your property and you guys can talk about where things are. The alternative is to hire a third-party contractor, and that's what the question's related to. And again, we're disappointed that the contractors seem hard to come by. As a first pass, you can always dial 811 and then just ask them for recommended utility contractors, utility marketing contractors in our area, and they should provide a comprehensive list. We will be reaching out to them to try to get a list for our area and give you guys access to that list, so that way you guys can place your third-party requests. But a good cue to when to order that marking is going to be about the time that you start to see Miss Utility doing some marking on your property already. Miss Joy, feel free to reach out to us, and we will get you a recommendation, as well as do our best to try to connect you with somebody, so that way those things are taken care of as soon as possible. Now, let's see. One about speed. And I'm gonna put this one to you, Heather, but I'm gonna start by just giving some idea of some of the factors that go in, and I do this coming from the experience of right now, and hopefully soon you all are going to hear more about this. Our office is doing a little bit of work to find out more about the broadband speeds that people are experiencing in Albemarle County, in the rural area, in the development area, across all of our providers, including our wireless providers. We want as much information as we can possibly get about the performance of broadband and what people are expecting. One of the factors that we have to take into consideration is that not all providers, not all equipment is made the same. And so we are doing something where we're really trying to thread the needle of figuring out which data, when you run a speed test and you get a result, which data is really as clear and as precise as it needs to be. And we do that by looking at what's known as ping. So ping, the way that you can think about it is, if you're moving at almost the speed of light, how long does it take one bit of data to get from you all the way to a server sitting somewhere on the internet? Good ping is certainly below 100, below 50, and even below 30. You're really looking at very fast, very reliable. This is data that we can use, and we can absolutely say with certainty we're moving really fast. We can also look at the relative speed, so what speeds you're getting both up and down, and that can be indicators of congestion on the line. It can be indicators of lots of different things. And I bring that up because the question here, it notes that Lumen has stated up to 940 megabits of fiber broadband, and they state that they've never had over 200 megabits per second, and that it's usually between 25 and 75. And so, I'm going to throw this to Heather just so that she can share what Lumen's position on this sort of thing is. But when we're looking at those sorts of speeds, especially when I see on a fiber connection moving from not at 900 down to 200 to 2575, there, I suspect a few things happening. The first thing that might be happening is when you have a connection to what's known as a GPON. So we're going to get really technical, but basically it's a box that everybody else's fiber in your neighborhood, about 8 houses usually total, is connected to. And in that box, you have 8 pieces of fiber coming in, and you actually only have 1 piece of fiber going out. That's actually going out to the internet. And that 1 piece of fiber, it's sharing the capacity of something much faster than a gigabit per second with all of the users. And the reason that it can do that is because not all of the users need a gigabit all the time. If you need a gigabit all the time, I'm sure Heather and Nancy and everybody at Lumen would be happy to talk to you about having an entire, a single strand all to yourself, dragged all the way out to your property from somewhere with a really wide bandwidth. But for the most part, people don't need 900 megabits per second all the time. And so the system tries to balance, not by limiting actually, but by making sure that everybody has as much as they seem to need right now. So if you were to download a very large file, and I've experienced this myself at home, you're going to start slow and you're going to be like, oh, well, that's not gigabit speed. But if you watch it, if it's a really big file and the system can tell that you're asking for a lot of data as fast as you can possibly get it, and if the person on the other end of the line is waiting for that, is trying to feed you it as fast as they can, then you're going to see that climb well above 200, up to 500, 600, 700, 800, 900. I can tell you, I've had gigabit service for a long time. I've never seen gigabit. I've seen about 890 is the most that I've ever seen. The other thing I think that might be happening, and then I'm going to kick it over to Heather because I've been talking a long time, is that 25 to 75. Often what you're probably experiencing there is the limitations of wireless in either a busy environment or a physically constrained environment. So physical constraints are distance, walls, a glass of water. A lot of things actually can get in the way of wireless signals. It's one of the reasons why a lot of us struggle, because sometimes we can see a cell tower and we still don't have good service. A lot of things go into propagation of wireless signal. And so if you're seeing speeds on some devices and they're in the 25-75 range, see if you can get a little bit closer to your router, see if it improves from there. If you continue to have struggles, and this is where I'm going to kick it to Heather. Lumen has technical support teams that I'm sure will be happy to help you. So Heather, any thoughts on expected speeds? You know, she asks, what are the average expected speeds, but also on what users can do, what customers can do when they have speeds that aren't where they expect them to be.
So, Jason, you did a really good job of covering all of the possibilities of why they may not be receiving the speeds to the 940. So there's a whole host of issues there, and why you may not. I mean, this could be modem, it could be anything that you just mentioned. And I will say, I do have a meeting with you and Mike next week with our company subject matter expert to go over all of this and specifically. So if you have any of those questions that you'd like to be answered, bring those to our meeting next week, and I'll make sure that that's answered. I'm going to ask Nancy if she has anything further, but I will say we're happy to field those questions if they get those to you, Jason, you or Mike, and get those over to us if they have a real concern.
The only thing I would add is there is information also on Q.com under the support and internet support that talks about quantum fiber speed. It mentions a lot of the same things that you went over, Jason, that can impact your speed. It does have some information on what you can do to optimize your speed. So I would definitely go to that website and kind of go through those steps first. If you're still having problems, again, you can always click to chat with one of our agents. They will get you to the technical support team that can help perhaps run some tests or kind of go through, again, things you can do to improve your performance. So I would recommend doing those because, as Jason indicated, there are a variety of things that can impact your speeds. So I would do some checking and then talk to our technical experts at Q.com as well.
Awesome. And we've got a great response from Ms. Williams, who asked the question. Thank you for your detailed response. I will take detailed notes and send you my spreadsheet. Great description of the many aspects of speed. Much gratitude, Ms. Williams. Thank you, because these being able to answer these questions, that is how we get the best information out as possible. I'm trying to move through some quick ones as we continue, because we're coming up on the hour. And I'm going to jump to Mr. Shields. This is definitely a question for Mike and I. Most people have no idea about VATI and would know to sign up on Q.com or know about the AAO. My question is really, how would they ever be notified? So I'll be honest, one of the things that we want to be careful with is how we get this information out there. Now, when it was the smaller project areas, believe it or not, we've got an email list of about 500, and a lot of those small project areas, we already had them. We already had almost all of the emails for all of the people that were in those areas. Sometimes they moved and they let us know, like, hey, I asked you about this 3 years ago, we moved. And then we were able to, get in touch with the person that moved in there, and they got added to the list. But we have done through our public engagement team work to try to put out press releases when we're launching new projects. These were included. Get coverage in the newspaper, get coverage on the TV news to let people know about these events and to let people know about our office. We're going to be doing more of that work over the summer. The specific intention of that work is to talk about affordability. Actually, it's to talk about new programs that we're launching to help people afford broadband in addition to getting them access. But as part of that, we will let people know, like, when we're at an event, for instance, in the Stony Point area in Keswick, we want any county staff, any county presence to include a little stand-up, a little flyer that has descriptions of what our office does, where we're working in the area, and we're going to do our best to make sure that the public engagement team is aware of these projects. The other thing is Lumen. So Lumen's obviously our private partner here. We have not done any direct engagement where we, for instance, send out flyers. And I don't know that they have, I don't specifically know whether they've done any direct engagement. I'm going to let them mention it. But from our perspective, in terms of getting information out, getting people to come to these webinars, there are 3 things that we ask you guys to do to help us. And you'll know this if you've ever called us on the phone and independently wanted to ask us a bunch of questions. We'll ask you, do you guys have a HOA? If your community has a HOA and you want to have us show up at the HOA one day, virtual or in person, and just present on this project, we're happy to. But if that's not something you guys are interested in, at the very least, letting the HOA know, send them an email or have them reach out to us. The other thing is just tell your neighbors. If you're at a barbecue, if you're just out for a walk and you know about these programs, ask them, hey, are you aware about this program? Are you aware about this? And I say those things because we want as many people to get connected because we know the benefits of having fast fiber broadband. The last thing is people generally notice when a big truck with CenturyLink or Quantum or whatever is driving through their neighborhood and digging up the road. And so you'd be surprised the number of people that just email us. They look at the county website, they eventually run into our email address and they'll email us and they'll say, hey, there's a big truck in my neighborhood. What is that about? And they end up here because of all that work. So I will throw it again. I think this one to Nancy. Nancy, have you guys done any direct mailers or anything of that sort for this project?
We do typically start doing mailers around the time that the individual households start to launch. So we wouldn't have done the entire VATI, every household. We do it as they turn up. So once your home becomes fiber enabled, then you will start getting, at this point, if we have your email, you'll get email marketing material. You could see some digital marketing material. We do have like postcards and flyers, but those are usually a little bit after you launch. They don't come out right away as quickly as the digital material. But yeah, you'll be notified by us for sure.
And I'm going to try to knock out, let's see if I can knock out 5 at a time. So we've got questions related to 811 again, and I appreciate that. And there's 6 because I hid one, or related to the locations of the drop. So when should we expect to see 811 markings or the fiber install on my property? When does the homeowner and Quantum discuss / agree at the routing of the drop? Can you verify the location of buried items in the Milton Hills area? All houses are on wells and buried septic. Will Miss Utility identify the locations of these services? What about buried drainage lines for drainage? And will service come into the same route as phone service was delivered to the home? I'm concerned about the location of the drop in the home and options for its location in the home. So if you have a specific concern about your property, and we mentioned this in the FAQ, reach out to us. And I say that because once you've ordered service, there's going to be that buried site, and there's a reason why I keep leaving the slide up, the buried site check. So that's not necessarily a check where somebody's going to come, let you know ahead of time that they're coming, knock on your door, introduce themselves, and then go for a walk. A lot of times what they're going to do is they're going to find the location where the fiber is going to be coming from. They're going to look at your house. They'll probably already have looked on your house on the GIS to figure out where the right spot is going to be to come into your house. And then they're going to do some measuring. Now, if you're out and about, or if they have a question, they might go ahead and come up to your door or come up to you and talk to you about something. If they see some markings, they might have questions for you. But I will say, those sorts of things, we can get ahead of it. So if you've placed your order and you have very specific concerns about where things are, especially things that aren't necessarily private utilities. They asked about septic fields. That's not a private utility. Or I'm sorry, that's not a public utility. That's technically falls under private utilities. And so those are the sorts of things that need to get marked. Reach out to us. And we will help you guys get connected. And there's actually, I'm knock out seven of them. We just had a recommendation for a contractor. I'm going to send that in the email that's going to follow this. It's Chip Easton. And I won't read his phone number out, but so that's another option. We will get you guys options for private contractors to mark your private utilities. And in terms of discussing that specific routing, it's going to happen at that buried site check. But if you have very specific concerns, reach out to us. We'll let Luma know, and then they will help you guys figure out the proper route. As to whether it's going to follow necessarily the same route as your phone, it's not necessarily going to follow the same route as your phone line. Those are very different technologies with very different constraints. And a lot of times those phone lines were up in the air already. These aren't necessarily going to be coming in the air. They're going to be coming underground. And so it's not going to follow the same path. It might reach the same end point because the side of the house that they need to reach might be the same side of the house, but it's probably not going to follow the exact same path. So if you have a specific concern, BAAO@albemarle.org. I'll probably say it 5 more times in the next, how much time? We got 2-3 minutes. Now, property is on the outside of the Advanced Mills project area. CenturyLink fiber crosses my property. Does quantum fiber physically tie into CenturyLink fiber? I think that this is a question for Heather and Nancy, possibly Dolores too. CenturyLink fiber, quantum fiber, are all of these different?
Go ahead.
We occasionally get this question because of the various logos that you see out there. Lumen is the parent company name of CenturyLink. Lumen is also the brand name for our global business and enterprise products and services. CenturyLink is our brand for phone and high-speed internet services, primarily served by the copper cables. If you have service in the VATI area today, you are under the CenturyLink brand. Quantum fiber is our latest new fiber product using next generation systems for fiber ordering and inventory system, along with a new digital platform, which is under the Lumen umbrella of products. So I hope that clarifies it.
Yeah, and I will say again, if you're outside of the project area, email us, BAAO, you guys have heard it, BAAO@albemarle.org, and we can check to see whether you're actually inside. We can also check to see, we can work with Lumen to see if we can make arrangements. We can't guarantee anything if you are actually outside of the project area, and that's related to the fact that this is a grant-funded project where over a year ago now, a list of addresses were submitted to the state for funding. And so that doesn't mean that service isn't going to be available as an outcome of this project, but it might not be included in the project itself. And that's all government speak, but it basically means we can only connect what's been paid for through this project. But again, that doesn't mean that there isn't an option for you to get connected. So I hope that provided some clarity. And lastly, we're gonna end in our last minute with with Justin's question. He lives on Gilbert Station. He's among, it sounds like, some that have had some fiber issues and issues getting connected. Had a tech come out, install fiber internally to his residence, and then asked that employee when the fiber would be run from the road to my residence. So he had the internal equipment done, hasn't had the fiber drop, so from the road to his home. Apparently the tech stated they likely will not, but who knows about whether somebody would actually reach out to him about when that would happen. And so overall, he's got some communications concerns and concerns related to the ability to communicate between the contractors out there doing the work and the actual company, the corporate company over at Lumen. And so I just want to offer Heather or Dolores or Nancy, if either of you wants to sort of see how we can address his concerns about communication, but also reiterate the efforts that you all are making to get all of these delays addressed.
Yes, so we have weekly meetings with our entire team, and I will definitely bring this up today to make sure that we are communicating as we should. If he has a specific question or an issue, have him email you and send that over to us, and we'll be happy to look at that.
Absolutely. And obviously, we want good outcomes. We want things to turn out well on all of these. And so I say that just because we don't want the work that we're doing to result in frustration rather than success. We want people to get connected. And so anytime somebody has an issue, this is the last time I promise, anytime somebody has an issue, please email us, baao@albemarle.org. We're going to do our best to reach a positive resolution for whatever issues you might have. And if you're still not satisfied, feel free to come back on the webinar and express yourself and talk about it. Our goal with these webinars is transparency and also to hit our time mark. We're 2 minutes over. We actually started 2 minutes late, so we're right on time. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Dolores, Nancy, and Heather. If anybody has any additional questions, you already know the email address I'm going to tell you to go. So feel free to email us. I'm going to offer one opportunity. If you have any other questions, you want to throw your hand up, you want a chance to speak. Seeing none, seeing no more questions coming in. Thank you all so much. Mike, if you want to hit the recording.
Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everyone, for attending. We really appreciate the interest. And yes, let your neighbors know, that the fiber is coming to your neighborhood. So it helps. Appreciate everything.
Cool. All right.
We'll stop recording.